It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or evil in a superlative degree of comparison only. That is a quote from Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. In a meeting with Laura Davis the other day, she mentioned, are you here, Laura? Where are you? She mentioned to me that this was a most exciting and stressful time. In other words, it is the best of times and the worst of times. It's the best of times because the U.S. News and World Report, for the third year in a row, recognized Linfield College as the best value in education in the area. We were also recognized as being #1 in ethnic diversity, and that is excluding international students. Total giving in gifts to the Linfield Fund, which are unrestricted gifts, are at the highest that it has been in many years. Employee donor participation, otherwise known as U, jumped to nearly 50%, and that's from 30% not too long ago. There were substantial commitments to the Wine Studies program and the Science Facility Project, most notably from Domaine Serene. We've been able to host a day-long symposium on why Frederick Douglass matters, an incredibly successful and timely event. We hosted the first Alkaline Music Festival this summer, organized by Anton Beloff. On that note, I can't believe that my 9-year-old daughter sat through a 3+ hour opera in Italian and actually wanted to discuss the characters in the Marriage of Figaro. God bless her. Linfield was recognized for 2017-18 as the top producer of Fulbright Scholars in the state of Oregon. Our graduates continue to out-earn any other undergraduate institution in the state of Oregon. The theater department will be producing The Night of the Living Dead, the only movie that ever kept me awake at night, coming up in the next week as a play, and tying in this incredible movie to present context. The sports management program will be heading to the college football playoffs in January to look at the business of college sports. We've had a successful launch of a marching band program with 25 of the 28 students in that program being freshmen, who indicated the band program, if not the major factor, was a considerable factor in their decision to come to Linfield. But, you knew there was a but, right? But there's more work to do. We're streaming this to our alumni for the first time. It's available on FaceTime. It will be available on FaceTime. So, alumni, I want to let you know, alumni participation and total dollar counts are both down. What that means, how did I get to those numbers before I talked about the increase, is that fewer people are giving more. So we're taking action to increase our supporters. Some of you heard me in the midst of losing my voice at the Wildcat camp, encourage people who had just come to the school to start thinking about giving back. Doesn't have to be a lot. I don't know about you, but I'm a basic math person. So you can ask for $5,000, or you can ask for 1,000 people to give $5. It all adds up the same. And so we want to encourage support, and for those who have benefited from the great programs we have here, I want them to continue to support us. If you haven't contributed to Linfield and you're in range of my voice, and thanks to the wonders of the internet, that means everybody's within range of my voice, and you haven't made a small contribution, please do. I just want to encourage that. Please do. We need your help and support. A key goal this year is to obtain enough gifts and commitments for the science building. That is either several seven-figure gifts, or if you happen to have very good friends with large fortunes, and one of them wants to make an 8-figure gift, please give us a call. We hope that we can take the campaign public coming up next fall. So also let me address the elephant in the room. Despite all the incredible things that we are doing in Linfield, for some reason, our enrollment is down. I don't want to bore you with college budgets and how they operate, but there are a couple of things that we all should understand who are part of this fine institution. Presently, we have approximately a $60 million operating budget. Operating budgets are those things that keep the lights on and keep you paid. Basic stuff. All the things that are needed to keep the organization functioning. 92% of that budget comes from student tuition and fees. 92%. That means that anytime there is a significant drop in enrollment, there's a significant drop in our operating budget and ability to meet basic things like payroll. This year, let me rephrase that, the 17-18 academic year, because now we're going to 18-19, the 17-18 academic year, we fell short $3 million. Now, for those of you who like to do math, 50 students is about $1 million to the operating budget. I have to tell you that some people said I shouldn't share this information with you. There are some people who said that, Dr. Davis, you're live streaming. People are going to be able to hear this and they're going to think bad about us. Some of you also heard me say to students that the only two things that get better with time is cheese and wine. Bad news doesn't get any better. And I also said to them, if you need help, you just need help. We need help. We have to change the enrollment trends, and actions are being taken to address that. We are looking at everything, at how we structure financial aid, to where and how we recruit students. But each of you has a role to play too. Having very, very exciting conversations with faculty about innovative offerings, combined with our PLACE program, about how we can bring in and attract students to changes that may have taken place or might be more appealing to them. We're exploring opportunities for expansion in Portland and creative uses of space in McMinnville. We are now in partnership with Portland Community College, Future Connect. They've sent us 5 students and hope to send us more. We are reviewing, again, how we recruit new students, and then how do we support them while here. Had a fascinating conversation with the director of career development about how we support them even once they leave here. We are about to begin work on the website to make it more potential student and mobile friendly. I expected a good round of applause to go up at that. Thank you. We need your collective thinking and input to move Linfield forward. We cannot afford the energy-draining thinking that comes from a us versus them mentality. We are not athletics versus academics. We are not faculty versus administration. We are not salary versus hourly. We are not Portland versus McMinnville. We are not the enemy of one another. We are one Linfield. But let me be clear. That does not mean that we don't have our own particular areas of concern or our own particular focus or interest. And quite frankly, it does not mean that we don't or won't disagree or have very strong debates about issues. Heck, I bet a lot of you have gone home at Thanksgiving and lived that reality. But guess what? They're still your family. You still love them. You still work with them. We don't have to agree on everything. And sometimes decisions are taken that we don't agree with. But we assume that within the context of our family, that people are trying to do the best that they can, even if they're a bit misguided at times. We embrace them. What One Linfield means is that we will rise and fall together. I was deciding whether I was going to reference this because I don't like to paint stories that are based in hyperbole. I do like facts and data. So I'll just mention this. Why we have to be one, well, I'll reference you like this. When I became part of the PhD project in 1995, there was a gentleman by the name of Bernie Milano, senior partner with KPMG as part of the PhD project, designed to increase the number of underrepresented minorities with their PhD in business. And his presentation to us, because he was pulling people out of corporate America to come into academia, and this was a time of challenge and turmoil in business, as it often is, and you know what he said? He says, you need to come into academia because unlike corporate America, colleges and universities don't close and shut down. I am speaking at the PhD project in November this year. I will reference that to Bernie when I see him. It's a different world. And so the reality is that we rise and fall together. It means that we don't try to advance one group at the expense of another. We realize that all of us are united by the mission of the college. And if you haven't read it, please read it. Read the long version. We are all united by the mission of the college, not by an individual's self-interest. Linfield is at a tipping point. The educational and demographic landscape of education has changed. Linfield must adapt to that reality. We must build into our thinking innovation and adaptation. Evolution demands that we adapt to our external environment. Science tells us that closed systems only survive and that they don't come into contact with external forces. History teaches that infighting destroys the mightiest of cultures. However, it also shows that a small group of people working in collaboration can build life-changing structures. So I am asking you, what are you willing to do to make Linfield better? It doesn't have to be a big thing in order to have big impact. If you walk by a piece of trash, pick it up. If you see a colleague or student, make eye contact and offer a smile. If you have ideals for improvement in your particular area with relevant people, work with them work with relevant people to make things better. Let me be clear. Making noise and complaining is not the same as moving things forward. It's just making noise. Today is one day of many days. It is what we do today that determines the rest of our days. What are you going to do today that will help determine Linfield's future? I received a timely book today from one of our esteemed colleagues, Nick Bucola. Nick, when you listen to this, somebody just cheer when I mention your name. An incredible work, The Essential Frederick Douglass. And I'm going to close with this quote where Frederick Douglass talks about the blessings of liberty and education. Now, you have to realize that when Frederick Douglass was writing and who he wrote this for, he was writing hope against hope. He was trying to work with an enslaved population who had been denied the basic essentials of reading and writing. He was up against even far greater odds than we are up against in trying to move people forward. And this is the closing quote. In conclusion, my dear, he says, young friends, I'm just going to modify it, say, in conclusion, my dear friends, be not discouraged. Accept the inspiration of hope. Imitate the example of the brave mariner who, amid clouds and darkness, amid hail, rain, and storm bolts, battles his way against all that the sea opposes in his progress. And you will reach the goal of your noble ambition and safety. Thank you for your time. For those who are streaming, thank you for the time to stream. We wish you well. We'll take a pause as we transition and get ready for questions. And thank you for making time out of your day to be here today.